next 5 years, remember, it's about training. Do people get good at what they're doing by doing it just one time? No, that's why we practice. We get good at what we practice. And if you help him and support him to practice correctly, then you won't have to undo things. Maybe it's time for you to fire the lawn care people and talk about what you can do with all that extra money. Because he needs to get up and get moving. He's been doing it for years and years. And if he sits, what do they say? If you rest, you rust. Yeah, it's not healthy. So it's time for him to take ownership and responsibility of his home because now he has time. And if he has other interests and other activities, fine, but you still have these responsibilities. You're going to be taking care of the yard. Now, in terms of household chores, you need to get out from under some of this stuff. Now, I know it's hard for you because he's not going to do things the way you want them to be done. Tough. If he does it fairly well, then you're just going to live with it because it's not going to kill you if the towels aren't folded exactly correctly. Let go of some of this rigidity. Now, I get it. I was a working mother. I was always a working mother. I worked when I was pregnant. I finished the school year at the end of June, and I gave birth to the kid on the beginning of July. And so there was no time. There was no time to go, oh, I'm no longer a working mother. Well, that wasn't going to happen. And you have to decide what's more important. Do I care that maybe the towels don't fit in there exactly correctly? Keep training him. Keep showing him you have to fold them into thirds. That way we can get 3 on a shelf. The way you're doing it right now, we can only get 2. And if that's the way you want to do it, then fine. Remember, there's part of him that says, if I'm a little resistant, I don't do it right, she's going to come back and do it. Avoid criticizing him. You're going to be heaping praise on all of his efforts. I know you're treating him a little bit like a child, but that's the situation. Maybe he can do the vacuuming if that's the most noxious thing to you. Maybe he can clean out the refrigerator, clean out the closet. Maybe it's time to pull everything out of the garage, get rid of the junk, reorganize. Because eventually you're probably going to be leaving this family home and go elsewhere. Wouldn't it be nice to have some of these tasks done before you actually put the house up for sale? Maybe it's time to get in the attic and pull out all of the old family albums and all the stuff that you stuck up there when, the grandparents started to pass on. So let's not nag, but continue to have the progress meetings. And ask him, is there something you want me to do? Well, I think maybe you shouldn't cook 2 nights a week. I think I should be responsible. Maybe I'll go pick up something from a restaurant or whatever, because chances are he's not going to start to cook. But grocery shopping is something he can do, especially if you send him pictures of the things that you want. And this is how you choose a watermelon. You've got to start handing off some of your wisdom, some of your knowledge and experience to him. If you want him to really help you, you're going to have to let loose of the rigidity and make it easy for him to succeed. Don't forget, keep going back to that table and talk about what kind of progress that you're making. Treat it like a business meeting, because that's really what it is. Getting the business of life done. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
To hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
What kind of career are you looking for? Do you dream of using your creative talents in the movie business? How about the advertising world? Or would you rather work in fashion? At Academy of Art University, we can help you get the art and design skills and experiences that employers want. Hundreds of top companies in the Bay Area and around the world have hired graduates from the Academy. You'll be trained by professional faculty members that have worked in the industry, so your education is practical and focused on what real-world companies want. You can get your degree at our San Francisco campus or anywhere online. Do what you want to do with your life. Call right now to get more information.
800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. That's 800-811-4169.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-506-6740. 800-506-6740. That's 800-506-6740.
Hey, y'all, Jeff Fox.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
We are the best self-help around here at the Dr. Claudia Show. You don't have to read a book or go to a class. All you have to do is listen. It's easy peasy. Sue just sent a question, and she wants to know what is known about the potential for mosquitoes, is basically what she's saying, to transmit the coronavirus. Yeah, we were pretty traumatized with that whole West Nile and Zika virus transmission through mosquitoes. But the World Health Organization and the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, they're saying that there's no evidence that mosquitoes are transmitting this. The way you get this stuff is from being in close contact with respiratory droplets. Every time you speak, every time you breathe, you throw that stuff out there into the air. And that's the primary way you get this kind of thing. It's like the common cold, which is also a coronavirus. But what we're dealing with now is a novel, a new coronavirus, and we don't really know how it's going to behave. One of the serious concerns that I've been reading about is the ability for this virus to more or less leave a time bomb in the body. And it's perfectly capable of leaving life-altering, long-term cardiac, heart problems, and lung problems, which is why we need to think our grieving over what looks to be the potential loss of the entire college football season. Almost every day you check in, there is another conference pulling out. And one of the things that the players are saying is that even those really healthy guys who have had the coronavirus, they are left with just catastrophic fatigue. And you got to listen to the body. If it's really that tired, it's saying, hey, don't push me. Because what you don't know is you have sensitivities in this other system. And if you push me, those sensitivities are going to explode into some kind of serious situation. So let's embrace the horror and just find something else to do with the time we would have spent on college sports. Now, maybe they're going to perhaps rerun some of the best of, and maybe we can get our fix that way. And we'll see what the professional football teams are going to be doing. It's the price you pay for being alive. These things happen. We haven't had it in 100 years, and now we're in it. Next time, because I'm sure China isn't done stirring their cauldron of virus over there, I think that we'll be better prepared. The scientists certainly have hopped on board with this. And if we have to lose a college football season and protect the health and well-being of these young people, don't even think about it. We can't live with the consequences, because it's not going to be me living with the consequences. And it might not be you, but if your kid is on a football team in college, you're sweating bullets because you don't want to be the one to say, well, honey, you can't play. I'm so worried about you getting sick. Yeah, you need the conference to slam that down. So here's Stacy. Stacy says, I plan to be married in my early 30s. I'll have enough time to get my career well underway and enough time to have the 2 children I want. I have somewhat of a bare bones list of the big ticket items I want to achieve, but I know I'm missing something. What are some other things to consider? Well, I don't think it's going to be any surprise to you. Well, it might be, Stacy, because I don't think you have a lot of insight here. It's great to have a plan, but I'm getting a whiff of some obsessive compulsive kind of a thing. It's got to be this way. Honey, life interferes with living. You can have a plan, but it is going to be blown up over and over again. What I would like for you to do, first and foremost, is get in to see a therapist, because I think you have unrealistic expectations of life. And a therapist is a really good person to help you figure out what those goals are and what those experiences are that you want to have before you get married, and devote all of your time and attention to both your career and your family life. I feel people out there saying, oh, wait, you're so not ready to be married because you're not mature enough. You are not looking at, well, honestly, I think you have a failure of imagination. If you look around at the people who are married, I think they're going to be your greatest source of wisdom on this. Ask them, what would you have done what would you do if you had it to do all over again? What did you feel that you missed out on that you would like to do? And I bet you most of them are going to say, I wish I had traveled more. Traveling changes who you are. You get a different view of the world and the people who live in it. And nothing makes you mature faster, and nothing benefits you more in terms of understanding yourself and your place in the world than travel. Travel because you're interested in history. Travel because you're interested in the arts. Travel for the food. Just get out there. But first, Christy, you really need to get your emotional house in order. I bet people you would talk to who are married would say, I had no idea about money. My family never had money. We never learned how to manage money. Start on an intense course of self-education, interview, and really ask a lot of questions of financial advisors, and settle on somebody who's going to advise you. And I think you need to know about the legalities of being married. What's yours, and then what becomes ours once you get married. And I think that everybody should decorate their home the way they want to before they get married and then have to compromise. And I think you need to settle on your signature style so that when you get into the midst of the flurry of being married and all the extra responsibilities that come with it, even before children come along, you need to know who you are and how you want to present yourself to the world. It's just easier if you aren't always experimenting and guessing on these things. And I want you to learn to be competent. I need you to learn to maybe be able to change the oil or at least locate a good mechanic. You need to know how to paint a room. You need to know how to make basic repairs. And if you have to hire a handyman, develop your own tool chest and get somebody in there to help you, then do it. Overall, you need to become more competent in your world. I don't think you know what's coming at you. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
What kind of career are you looking for? Do you dream of using your creative talents in the movie business? How about the advertising world? Or would you rather work in fashion? At Academy of Art University, we can help you get the art and design skills and experiences that employers want. Hundreds of top companies in the Bay Area and around the world have hired graduates from the Academy. You'll be trained by professional faculty members that have worked in the industry, so your education is practical and focused on what real-world companies want. You can get your degree at our San Francisco campus or anywhere online. Do what you want to do with your life. Call right now to get more information.
800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. That's 800-811-4169.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. We're tickled pink that you've joined us, so come on in and sit down. Let's talk about your life and relationships with your family, friends, your neighbors and coworkers, your boss. That's an important one. I'm licensed psychologist Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host, and I'm answering your questions. So give me a call at 833-400-5050. Or you can go online at drclaudia.net. That's drclaudia.net. And click on the Ask Me button. Or you can go on Facebook at Dr. Claudia McCulloch. All this doctor stuff. It's kind of obnoxious. At Dr. Claudia McCulloch, McCulloch. Cha-cha-cha. Okay, here's Mitchell. Mitchell called it correctly. He's definitely in a crisis. Here's his situation. I wish I would have followed my dad's advice to leave the past in the past. My fiance and I are both practicing attorneys and we're doing very well. We love our work and each other. I asked to have a come clean conversation about our past relationships and the big ticket mistakes and what we've learned from them. Now my life is destroyed. I learned from my fiance that she was an entertainment dancer at a gentleman's club to pay for most of her law school expenses. She was actually proud of it. I couldn't believe what she was telling me. She described in detail that she never let anyone touch her and that she conducted herself with dignity. How is that even possible? Now our relationship is in crisis and I want to delay the wedding until it's resolved. We're having trust issues and everything is just terrible. Do we continue to talk more about this or do you think we should go to therapy? Is there a chance for us? Yeah, you should have a therapy appointment this afternoon, Mitchell, because this has become a dumpster fire and all because you couldn't leave it alone. So what emotional time zone do you live in, Mitchell? The past, the present, or the future? Or are you just so obsessive and anxious that you had to dive into her past life and find something that would blow it all up? because there's might be a part of you that really wanted out, that you weren't really sure. And once you came to understand that she was an entertainment dancer, which could mean any number of things, that's like people who call themselves therapists. Yeah. You're only allowed to call yourself a psychologist when you're actually a psychologist, but just about anybody can call themselves a therapist. So you said she described in great detail the kinds of things that she did. Clearly, she's not holding any shame about it. She's proud of it, that she didn't finish law school with a bunch of student loan debt. And suddenly, when you heard that about her, you saw her in a completely different light. You had a very different lens that you saw her through. And that's on you. This is not on her. She wasn't withholding. I mean, who would ever think to say, gee, were you ever a stripper or a pole dancer or an entertainment dancer? You would have never thought that about her, would you? No. She saw herself as being very resourceful. And apparently she didn't have to work many hours a day because she finished law school. She passed the bar. She learned something. And for those of you who don't really understand or maybe haven't even questioned when someone has a license to do something, that means that they have met the minimal competence as demonstrated by their performance on a test. That doesn't mean they really know what they're doing. Just keep that in mind. Because if you get this kind of sense, a whiff, a gut feeling that maybe somebody doesn't know what they're doing, don't say, well, they're licensed. They've got to know what they're doing. Wrong answer. They know enough to pass a test. So here's what's going to happen. You need to go to a couples therapist, and you may end up having to go several times a week because you are in crisis. And when people are in crisis, we need to see you more frequently. That's the reason why we have things like intensive care. If you need a lot of help, you've got to be in intensive care because there's a whole bunch of people who are responsible just for you because you are treading the fine line there. Now, if you have individual issues, Mitchell, which I think you have, you're going to have an individual therapist. And if she wants to explore individual issues outside of the couple's relationship, she needs her own therapist. That's how all of this works. So there could be 3 therapists involved in your relationship now. But there is no time to spare because you have created this crisis because you were obsessive about your need to know, and you packaged it so pretty, Mitchell, under the let's start this marriage fresh and clean. We're rebooting. We are starting down the rest of our lives, so let's come clean about all of it. I think that you have fantasies about the perfect woman out there with an unblemished past because she's the only one who's truly worthy of you. So what are the ideas floating around in my head? I think you're perfectionistic. You could be obsessive. You are possibly controlling. You are definitely judgmental. And there are people out there now saying, well, you're wrong, Claudia. I wouldn't have anything to do with someone who had engaged in that. Okay, then that's your call. But there's no doubt that you're being judgmental. Why? Why do I know that? Because you had a certain set of feelings for her, you learned a fact, and then they changed completely. It's not like she's a serial killer. But she's no longer worthy of you. And I'm thinking that, there's a flavor of narcissism going on there. What, are you perfect? I have no idea if this relationship is salvageable because you're not the only one involved here. Now, she may not want you because she now realizes that you don't trust her, you're judgmental, you don't believe her, you're hypercritical, you're obsessive, and you might even be narcissistic. Now, your therapist is going to determine if you're narcissistic, and if you don't go to therapy and you just demand that she goes, that'll be the proof of the pudding, because people who are narcissistic don't think there's anything wrong with them. They think everybody else has the problem. But you know that if she is to marry you and you turn out to be a narcissist, what she has coming at her down the road is anxiety and depression. Now, here's my thought about this. I've developed worldviews that help me to understand why things happen in my life, and this comes under the heading of everything happens in your best interest. And it is in your best interest that this happened now before you were married, for both the sake of your fiance and you. Because actually, Mitchell, you just may be that kind of spouse who's just too much work, and she doesn't want to put that kind of work into it. But you don't believe her. And what you need to know is that there are a lot of women who are working in these establishments to feed their children. And it's up to them what they think of themselves and the work that they're doing. But you're awfully judgmental. And I think this has come back to bite you in the tush. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. Here's what our customers had to say.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
If you're testing your blood sugar 4 or more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, a CGM can help you. It's accurate, easy to use, and if you have Medicare, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Plus, get free shipping of your new CGM, and we can bill Medicare for you.
Honestly, I had my doubts, but that new CGM is painless.
Call now. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. That's 800-712-8002.
What kind of career are you looking for? Do you dream of using your creative talents in the movie business? How about the advertising world? Or would you rather work in fashion? At Academy of Art University, we can help you get the art and design skills and experiences that employers want. Hundreds of top companies in the Bay Area and around the world have hired graduates from the Academy. You'll be trained by professional faculty members that have worked in the industry, so your education is practical and focused on what real-world companies want. You can get your degree at our San Francisco campus or anywhere online. Do what you want to do with your life. Call right now to get more information.
800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. That's 800-811-4169.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
This is the Dr. Claudia Show, and here we're all about hope and inspiration. And we throw in a little empowerment, give you some information so that you can make healthier decisions for yourselves and your family. And I cannot forget, I almost forgot, you should see this desk. This is This is pretty impressive. I'm not usually this messy, but there's so much going on. I wanted to follow up on the dad who wrote in last week. I think his name was Troy. We had 2 Troys write in last week. I thought that was bizarre. And this dad had a little boy. He's 14 now. But his first words were about cars. He'd pitch a fit if mom and dad tried to read him fairy tales. He wanted to see the magazines about cars. He wanted to hear about cars. And while I was answering, one of our listeners, Brian, sent an incredible resource. It's the University of Northwestern Ohio. And I looked into that and put up a show notes post, which comes on the Dr. Claudia blog. If I have anything to add to the show, I usually stick that up there after the show. Now, I thought, this is too good to be true. I explored it, and it is the high performance motorsports in their College of Applied Technologies. Okay, for those of you who have motorhead kids and you're turning up your radio because you think you've just missed this, here it is again. It's the University of Northwestern Ohio, and it is the high performance motorsports program in their College of Applied Technologies. And I sent this information back to Troy, and he's out of his mind, crazy happy. So thank you, Brian, for that. But, you know me. I'm curious, Dr. Claudia, and I started to look at the clubs and organizations. They have an autocross club and a drag club. Now, that's drag racing. That's not like RuPaul's drag queen stuff. They have a motorsports team. They have an off-road club. They have something called the Over the Wall Club for people who want to be pit crew members. They have a race club, a technical support team for racing and events club featuring the students and their skills. Now, I love this program on Netflix called The Fastest Car. Okay, that's Netflix, The Fastest Car. You are going to love this. What they have is a supercar. Somebody who has a Lamborghini, a McLaren, a Porsche, that rarefied air of supercars. And they race 4 other cars, which are the products of teams of guys who are motorheads. And there was this one station wagon. I mean, this 30-year-old station wagon that they put this new engine and transmission in, and it actually beat the McLaren. It was amazing. These men who put these beat-up cars together, they're not at all interested in the package. It's all about their performance. And you listen to these guys talk about their lives and how getting with this crew of guys and putting together these engines and they're practically put together with duct tape. It is inspiring. It teaches you a lot about how all of this works. And it's not always the fastest, newest, most expensive car that wins. So check that out. And if you've got a kid who is a motorhead, then this is a show for you. It teaches a lot about values and ethics and collaboration, what we used to call teamwork. But it is really exciting. And if you have a kid who is a motorhead, it is the University of Northwestern Ohio for you. Yes, you can get a college degree in these kinds of skills. Look, that would satisfy mom and dad's need for their kids to have a college education. And it also is that key to the door that gives them entrance into higher levels. I may have shared with you, our kid was in his 5th year in a highly technical computer sciences program at his university. and he got an internship with this cowboy organization, and he loved what he was doing. And he ended up saying, I don't think I want to finish off the 5th year. And I said, you have to, because that college education is the key to every place else you want to go. He finished, and he now realizes that Mama was right.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-506-6740. 800-506-6740. That's 800-506-6740.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
This is the Dr. Claudia Show. You want to know why people do the things they do? Oh, baby, you are in the right place. Because if I don't know immediately, I will find out the reason why. But I love our listeners. They send in the best resources. I mean, this is truly the concept of a village helping you to raise your children. Speaking of raising your children, have you noticed that the budget you used to have for food is lasting you about 75% of the way? Yeah, that's because 13% of our after-tax income is spent on food every year. 13%. It was so astonishing to me every time I would go to the market that I would pay attention to the cost of one or two things to see how much it went up the next week. And obviously, we're having difficulty with production. But yeah, it's fresh fruits and vegetables really seem to be hit hard. And I'm wondering if it's because of labor, getting the labor in there to collect the food from the fields. But that doesn't stop these food manufacturers from coming up with ideas to get our money for more or less junk. Yeah, that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to be bold and come right out and call it what it is. Now, there is a new beverage on the way to the shelves, and you may be wild about this, but it sounds more like a Red Bull kind of a thing than it does a Coke thing. But Coke is creating a new beverage that is going to be infused with Brazilian coffee. So now you've got Coke with caffeine and coffee with caffeine. And I say just strap some roller skates to your feet because you're going to be rocketing down the sidewalk. Now, this beverage has been available in Japan, Brazil, Turkey, and Italy for a while, and it's coming out in January. So look for that on the shelves. I wonder if they're going to make it with real sugar because that other stuff is not healthy for you. Costco is now selling keto-friendly egg sandwiches, which have a bun made from eggs, and then there's a couple of meat patties in between. But we're really going for the treats and desserts, okay? Oreo I would love to be able to still say that Oreo is an iconic American company, but it was bought out by Mondelez, and all of those fabulous Oreo cookies that you love to pop into your mouth, they're made in Mexico now. But they're introducing, here we go, more coffee. Java chip Oreo cookies. It has a coffee flavored filling that has chocolatey chips in it. And that's designed to pair up with two other flavors that they've produced, tiramisu cookies and the latte cream fudge. Dipped Oreo thin bites. Good Lord, how many words can there be in that title? What are you going to spend your money on? And I think that they need to, if they were smart, they would know how we women shop. We're not going to pay $3.50 for a bag of Oreos that tastes like, ugh. They need to find some way to give us a very small sample bag. Are you hearing me, Oreo people? We're not going to buy this stuff. It's too much money to throw in the garbage. They need, if they're going to introduce new flavors, they've got to get really small sample packs out there into the stores. Because if you notice, unless it's something we're really familiar with, like Slam Dunk, I knew when I saw those dark chocolate Oreos on the shelf, I knew what they were going to taste like. I never buy them anymore because I cannot stay away from them. And all that sugar is not good for you. So we've got Betty Crocker, who is going to soon put out a no-bake chocolate peppermint cookie dough bite. And Pillsbury is creating a Scoob sugar cookie. Scooby-Doo's picture is going to be on them, and they can be baked or they're safe to eat raw. So keep your eyes out for these new products that are coming out. And if you thought you were disappointed over missing out on college football, just know this. You have already missed out on the Kentucky Fried Chicken Crocs. Yes, Kentucky Fried Chicken shoes. They were put out with pictures of fried chicken on them, and they also smelled like fried chicken. And they sold out in one day for $60 a pair. What is wrong with you? $60 for a pair of chicken-smelling shoes? What have we come to? I swear to you, we are desperate for entertainment. But still, the Big Mac candles that McDonald's put out a couple of months ago, they all sold out in 6 minutes. The 6-pack of candles included the distinct smells of 100% fresh beef, ketchup, pickled cheese, onion, and sesame buns. That's what's going on out there in the world. And I know you just had to know about that because it is so entertaining. Look at what people are spending their money on. Kentucky Fried Chicken smelling shoes. You know life is good when you're starting to see the back-to-school sales advertisements on television. I was so thrilled to see that. I thought, okay, are we going? Are we not going? What are we doing? We are seeing a couple of stories about kids who are going back to school and they're coming down with COVID-19. We would expect that. We're hoping that these little bambinos overcome all of this stuff and get back to school quickly. We're counting on you kids to be the carriers of health for us. But one of my major concerns is that we are now 2 years past the last outbreak of that polio-like virus that kids are getting called acute flaccid myelitis. And the CDC is warning parents that we're up for another outbreak. And it happens around this time of year, late summer, early fall, which is exactly the pattern that polio took, if you know anybody who lived during that era. Now, the last peak of this acute flaccid myelitis, this polio type stuff, was 2 years ago, and there were 238 cases. This is stuff not to be trifled with. It has killed, And it causes weakness, headache, back or neck pain, numbness. And if your child has had a current respiratory illness, they've had bronchitis, they've had pneumonia, they may be more vulnerable to coming down with this. Now, kids have been paralyzed. Here's the terror of this thing. We don't know what causes it, and we don't know how to fix it. And this is the disease that's really attacking children, but yet the COVID-19 is what's being touted as being a threat to kids. That's not as big of a threat to kids as this AFM. Talk with your pediatrician about it, especially if your child has had a respiratory infection, and make certain that everyone does all the hygiene practices. If you have a young child who's had an upper respiratory infection, wash your hands, make sure your kids are vaccinated. If your child is vaccinated for the flu, they have a 54% less chance of being hospitalized. Control the controllable. It's the best you can do when you're parenting. None of this is easy. We have to be very brave to be parents. Good for us. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. Here's what our customers had to say.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
If you're testing your blood sugar 4 or more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, a CGM can help you. It's accurate, easy to use, and if you have Medicare, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Plus, get free shipping of your new CGM, and we can bill Medicare for you.
Honestly, I had my doubts, but that new CGM is painless.
Call now. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. That's 800-712-8002.
What kind of career are you looking for? Do you dream of using your creative talents in the movie business? How about the advertising world? Or would you rather work in fashion? At Academy of Art University, we can help you get the art and design skills and experiences that employers want. Hundreds of top companies in the Bay Area and around the world have hired graduates from the Academy. You'll be trained by professional faculty members that have worked in the industry, so your education is practical and focused on what real-world companies want. You can get your degree at our San Francisco campus or anywhere online. Do what you want to do with your life. Call right now to get more information.
800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. 800-811-4169. That's 800-811-4169.
Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. Here's Dr. Claudia.
You are listening to the Dr. Claudia Show because this is where you'll get your answers. How much do I love the Dr. Claudia family of friends? Jennifer just sent over an article about how the coronavirus has impacted 5 Big Ten athletes. Okay, so these are athletes, right? They're young, strapping, healthy guys. And several other athletes from other sports and other conferences have been diagnosed with myocarditis as a result of COVID-19. There we go. There's that ticking time bomb. Now, myocarditis is usually caused by a viral infection. Okay, check that box. And it can weaken the heart, which can lead to heart failure, abnormal heartbeat, or sudden death. Thank you, Jennifer. For those of you who are going, oh, they're being such babies about this. It's just a virus. Oh, no, it's not. And now we're hearing stories about scarring in the lungs, and these are from people who haven't even been on ventilators. Take this stuff seriously, very seriously. And on a lighter note, and I've really worked hard to make this show a little bit lighter today because, I mean, the protesters in Portland are moving into neighborhoods and burning down family homes. And I don't really even watch the news, but I caught that just kind of scrolling through something else. And we've got the election and we've got the economic stuff. The good news is less than 1 million people filed for unemployment this week. We're slowly climbing out of this, but here we go. Clara just sent me an article about I love you people. Brock has released its turkey dinner candy corn. See, you really needed to know about this, right? Now, in the bag, they have 6 different flavors. Why, oh, why would they make a candy that tastes like green beans? But hey, it was up to them. Roasted turkey, cranberry sauce, ginger glazed carrots, sweet potato pie, and stuffing. So if you buy a bag of Brock's new turkey dinner candy corn, there we go. You've got your home meal right there. Okay, quick one from Clay. He says, it's our 10th anniversary, and I want to get my wife something pretty, meaningful, and kind of light, not super serious. Any ideas? I've canvassed my friends and even coworkers, and nothing exciting has hit me. I am so flattered, Clay, that you would ask me what I think. The modern 10th anniversary gift is diamonds. The traditional, meaning older, was tin or aluminum because it represents durability and flexibility. So with that in mind, I think you should get her a watch. Maybe with, not super expensive, maybe a couple of diamondy sparkles or rhinestones or Swarovski crystals, and have it engraved with the following quote: I always have time for you. It's so cute. It's cheesy. It's corny. It's charming. It's delightful. And I know people love to use their phones to tell what time it is. And unless she has an Apple Watch, she can use her watch to tell time. I think watches are still in vogue. I think they're a wonderful fashion statement. And she is absolutely going to love the sentiment with that. Okay, I'm going to hit Daryl's question here because you never know when someone is going to encounter the same kind of situation, and I want you to be prepared. Here's what he has to say. I'm not sure what the rules are with you women about leaving your kids in the car to run in and get something. I pulled up to the local grocery store and noticed a woman leaving what looked to be maybe a 6 and 9-year-old in the car. I waited to see how they behaved and how long she took. I started fuming and was planning on taking her head off when she came out about 15 minutes later with a cartload of groceries. How did she do all of that in such a short time? I told you, we're goddesses. The kids are very well behaved, no fighting and such. The older one was leaning against the car door and looked to be sleeping. Mom went to him right away. I was thinking that he was sick and she didn't want to take him in. I think she did the right thing, but I'm wondering what to do if I see this kind of thing again. Well, Daryl, you're absolutely right. You didn't know at that moment, but you were actually a parenting partner with that woman. And she must have been in an absolute state of panic, running through the store, picking up what she needed, worrying about the kids in the car. And all of us women have seen those mamas. Our hearts go out to those mamas. We don't know what her life circumstances are. Maybe she's working 2 jobs. Maybe she's doing this on her own. Maybe her husband is deployed. Maybe he walked out and left them. Maybe he passed away. Whatever it is, in that moment, she's going it alone. And because you were that little angel sitting in your car, making sure that nothing terribly bad happened to them, you were co-parenting her. Just use your common sense. Anybody who leaves a toddler in the car is out of their minds, and they need to have the cops called on them immediately. Obviously, if it's a baby, absolutely. I don't think you should be leaving an animal in the car and running in to get something. You could risk being arrested for animal abuse. Hey, and that kind of charge is making its way through legislation so that it's a federal crime. It may actually be a federal crime now. Now, if you saw the kids starting to get out of the car, I would imagine you would have walked by as if you were walking into the store and say, hey, your mom's not going to like that. Or if they started to wail on each other, you would have done the same thing. You would have knocked on the window and said, cut it out. And that would have put the fear of God in them. Your instincts are right. And you might have, and you never know what you're going to get when you encounter people, but you might have walked by her as she was loading up her car and telling them what you saw, and they did a really great job, and you can appreciate that she's trying to do 6 things at once. She may have been really embarrassed and started to explain, or she may have gotten very angry and started yelling at you. But letting her know how impressed you are with her trust in her children, her judgment, and she thought she couldn't live with the consequences of dragging a sick kid into a grocery store and picking up something else. But we quickly rush to judgment, and that's why we have that whole Karen meme out there going on now. But you did a good job, and I think if you had to do it again, you would do it the same way, looking out for the kids without mama even knowing it. You're a good man. We're so happy to know you, Daryl. Thanks for the great question. Here is a quote from an anonymous source. You can't fall if you don't climb, but there's no joy in living your whole life on the ground. Just something to think about. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
The Dr. Claudia Show educates and informs. No therapeutic relationship is established between the listener and Dr. Claudia. No liability will be assumed by Dr. Claudia or this station for any alleged damage. For professional help, please consult a specialist.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-506-6740. 800-506-6740. That's 800-506-6740.